the way I treated and spoke about Emma O'Reilly. That's probably the worst.
I was a Swan Yard, someone who looks after the riders. I kind of thought if I ever did want to speak out, it was to do good. My whole thing really was about the UCI. It's them that are creating this problem. It annoyed me that the whole system was set up not to protect the riders. You know, that the riders were just fodder for other people's grand plans. David Walsh got in touch with me. And I thought, you know, he could make this a helpful, constructive article about the problems in cycling. I was feeling really guilty, and that stayed with me for a long time, over being disloyal to my teammates and to the riders. Then Pantani died.
Pantani died of an overdose, but a lot of people say he died of a broken heart, you know, coincidentally dying on Valentine's Day, of all days.
C'est un choc, un vrai choc pour moi, pour tout le sport du cyclisme. Je suis très triste. C'est pas bon pour le cyclisme.
Neanche quanto lo menavi da piccolo. Era talmente orgoglioso che non si faceva vedere piangere. E quel giorno io l'ho visto piangere, Marco. Ha detto che le macchine che passavano gli urlavano: dopato, vai a casa.
Have that anymore. I think that's got to be hard for anybody.
One of the tragedies of that lost generation of riders is that the ones who felt the shame most keenly on their conscience were maybe the ones who suffered the most. And I think that was certainly the case with Pantani.
And that's what I said to David: okay, you can use whatever you want. I can back up everything I said. I was in trouble. I've realised it was going to be more about Lance than cycling. So now I was left to Lance's wrath on my own.
We have instigated a lot of action here. Every accusation that's come, every case that's come, we've sued people. We've opened ourselves up for investigation. We've opened ourselves up for inquiries. And our average, our batting average in all of them is 1,000.
Do you have any other evidence to suggest that Miss O'Reilly was making up this in exchange for money, other than the fact that she received some compensation?
Emma or Steven?
Emma. Oh, sorry.
Pissed at me, pissed at Johan, really pissed at Johan, pissed at the team. Afraid that we were going to out her as a, you know, these things she said, as a whore or whatever, I don't know.
To call a woman a whore is just totally unacceptable. That would be, it's hard to be worse than that. Well, you know, I had a version of events in my head that I wasn't trying to say that she was a whore, but well, why did I do it? Because I was an idiot and in full attack mode. That's why I did it. Right up
Tour de France 6 times in a row.
It's a great feeling, and especially nowadays, every year more and more Americans come here on the Champs-Élysées, and now it's just lined with Americans, American flags, Texas flags, and I almost feel like I'm at home standing up there.
2004 is when the mess started, where they were breathing down our throats to sign a false affidavit supporting Lance, smearing David Walsh. When I refused to do that, it was just a snowball.
I try to jog your memory so you remember a lot of the things, because a lot of that stuff at that point had happened. I testified in 2010, so they were talking about like 95 to 2005.
What was that?
No, it's terrifying. You kidding me? I mean, I still had broken ribs from crashing out of the Tour de France. I'm not gonna lie, it was a long 8 hours.
The first 15 minutes were hard, then the next 6 hours and 45 minutes were like, I don't know, almost like a religious experience for me, like just unloading all this darkness that had been kept burying and burying and burying. I was always surprised that, like, how's this been kept under wraps for such a long time? It was too big of a secret for it not to come out, you know. But I always thought to myself, hopefully it comes out, 10 years after I'm retired, and like I don't have to deal with it, I'm sure that's what the guys in the 80s were thinking.
One of the advices of the councils were like, you can't talk to Lance anymore because Lance was still being was denying it very, very strongly.
For me, maybe not obviously, but it started a long time ago. It started 10 years ago with a lot of talk and speculation, which is, I think is part and parcel to being successful in what is widely viewed as, maybe a dirty sport.
When you were lying like that, what was it like looking at yourself in the mirror?
No problem. You just kind of become immune to that. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to hear myself say that, but that's the truth.
When things started closing in on him, he wanted me to call John McCain.
The report is based upon more than 1,000 pages of evidence, including sworn testimony from U.S. Postal Service riders who had knowledge of Armstrong's doping or doping by the team.
I don't think anybody knew the breadth of the evidence, that they would have all these teammates of his submitting sworn affidavits that said this is all true, this has all happened. The nail in the coffin was the testimony from George Hincapie that Lance Armstrong had doped. This is his friend saying it now.
Nike, a longtime sponsor of
keeping this whole fraudulent scheme alive.
What bothers me is when corporations who have lifted these athletes onto a pedestal don't then take responsibility.
Nike, calling the evidence against Armstrong seemingly insurmountable, ended its endorsement deal with the 7-time Tour de France champion. Other sponsors followed suit.
When he knew his world was going to come crashing down, he went to Hawaii to hide away, just to deal with it with the family. And I flew out there to see him just to make sure he was doing okay. And we'd play golf every day in the afternoon, just the two of us. And crazy enough, on the 12th hole, his phone...
Correct, yes. We started off this deposition by you taking the oath to tell the truth and the whole truth. Do you remember that oath?
I do.
And it's the same oath you took the last time that I deposed you, correct?
Correct.
But the last time I deposed you, there is no dispute that you gave false testimony, correct?
Correct.
What assurance do we have that this time you're going to tell the truth when you took the same oath last time and lied?
I understand the significance.
You do recognize that there is a legal obligation that you are under to tell the truth in this proceeding, correct? Correct. And you do understand that there can be both civil and criminal penalties.
Who sued you?
But the better question is, who didn't sue me?
It's not a pity party. Like, no one's sitting there like, oh, poor Lance, he lost money. It's the fallout. It's what happened from, doing what he did in sport. So you got to take the good, you got to take the bad. And he's the first to admit it. Like, hey, I'm paying the price, but I put myself here.
That the whole thing was happening to him.
I hated the idea of riding bikes and the sport of cycling, and I just hated it.
He's dead. He's fucking
Dead.
You take the same drugs. I don't understand how one guy ends up being the Messiah that's...
Estou a entender, claro que sim. É. Tá bem, tá bem. Ok, obrigada. Obrigada.
Ora, mas ela é uma cidadã portuguesa e a primeira ordem da Constituição é cuidar das vidas. Ela está doente, o Estado tem que se responsabilizar por ela, a doutora tem que se responsabilizar por ela. É a profissão dela. Nós pagamos para que ela faça o que tem que fazer. Estás a entender? Tu não estás a saber falar com as pessoas. Tens de dizer, ó, senhora doutora, a senhora está a fazer o discurso muito certo da sua experiência.
Uma coisa, eu não quero meter demasiado. Quem tem que ir lá falar com ela é o Mário e ela tem que querer ir a Faro, seja de que maneira for. Ela ontem assinou uma responsabilidade.
Então fala com o Mário.
Pronto.
Fala por telefone, não precisas de lá ir. Ligas, Mário, precisa lá contigo. Olha, como é? Estás bem? A tua mãe está aí a sofrer muito. Os médicos dizem que ela tem que ir para Faro. O que é que estás disposto a fazer, Mário? Estás disposto a deixar a tua mãe morrer aí? Pronto, tens que lhe dizer, tens que ser um bocado fria. Tens que o fazer raciocinar.
Or says. And they fucking ruin Jan Ulrich's life. Why? The country of America idolizes, worships, glorifies George Hincap. He invites him to races, gives him jobs, buys his shit. And they disgrace and destroy me. That's why I went.
Eu vou lá a ela enquanto tenho ali.
Because that's fucking bullshit.
Enquanto tens ali o que, amor?
Tenho o frango no forno. Está bem? Ela diz que não tem dúvida nenhuma que ela tem um tumor no estômago ou no intestino e que aquilo é uma metástase.
Pois.
E que não é só a opinião dela, porque ela fala com os colegas. Há mais duas colegas que...
E então se tem um câncer, não a conseguem internar? Por amor de Deus, pá. E se fosse a mãe dela, ou a irmã deles, não internavam? É assim que temos que falar. Não é? Ó, senhor doutor, mas repare, vocês é que têm a faca e o queijo na mão, vocês é que são os profissionais. Se fosse um familiar seu, o que é que você fazia? Deixava estar assim?
Ela diz que tem é que levar lá.
Tens que a levar lá? Não tens nada que a levar lá. Tens é que chamar a ambulância e a ambulância tem que a levar lá. E ela tem que fazer um relatório e dizer o que é que ela tem. Ela é que tem que escrever a dizer: esta senhora tem uma metástase, tem que ficar a ser tratada. Ora, não há outra forma, quer dizer...
Ela diz que não tem dúvidas, mas exames específicos não tem.
Mas então escreve no relatório qual é o parecer dela. E dizer que aquela pessoa está abandonada e que está a morrer aos bocadinhos em casa.
Isto é tão complicado.
Oh filha, mas a doutora é que tem que dizer, não é?
Pois, exatamente por isso a doutora Ana diz o que é que...
Mas tu não sabes falar. Eu queria te ajudar a argumentar. Não sabes, não estás com a cabeça boa para isso. Tu tinhas que saber ir argumentando, ouvindo e argumentando, ouvindo e argumentando.
Olha, o filho tem que tomar essa decisão, porque ela não quer de maneira nenhuma ir para Faro. E eu não sou ninguém, sou só amiga.
Ora, mas também não podes estar sozinha a carregar com isso, não é?
Não.
Hã?
Não.
Então como é que queres fazer?
Se calhar chamou o INEM e mandou outra vez.
Claro, tens que pedir ajuda, Aurora.
E agora não há recusas. Tem que ir e tem que ir.
Tens que pedir ajuda.
He is. And the blinds are going up to 40 and 80,000.
Olha, eu vou lá, Miri, tem quando fica aí.
Who is leading the way very.
Tem o frango aqui no forno.
Queres que eu desligue?
Isto aqui. E agora, enquanto isto está aqui a fazer, eu vou lá, Miri. Sim. Está bem? Sim. Estás bem?
E dos tons brilhantes com as colorações.
Para enfrentar a pressão da.
Dá mais vezes um murro na mesa.
Vai conseguir superá-la, certeza absoluta, mas acima de tudo espero que agora a poeira assente.
Or says. There's pretty good reason for that. But by the same